Hi all, this is Toby from Emberandoaksmokehouse, and today I'm going to be showing you the way that I spatchcock a chicken. We're going into detail on what parts I cut off, tools you need, as well as going into sort of where you can stop and create different types, i.e. chicken halves, or you can also do it in different ways. But this is the way I do it. It's a little bit different. I cut a little bit more off to make it easier to both slice, and it makes it a nicer bird. You can follow this to turkey and basically any other type of poultry. But yeah, let's show you how we do it, and we'll go through the tools you need. Okay, so here we have a just run-of-the-mill chicken, and this one is sort of a reduced one that I picked up. It's frozen, and now we're just going to prepare it to spatchcock. And the tools you need to do this, you can just use a 7-inch chef knife, but personally, I prefer for this kind of job a pair of poultry shears. Not absolutely required; they're not too expensive, but for bigger birds like turkeys and all that, I absolutely recommend them. The other knife you're definitely going to want is some sort of paring or ideally a filleting or deboning knife. These are a knife with a really sort of thin edge that you can sort of manipulate. You can bend it. You've got a nice sharp tip that can get in there and under the bones. So to start with, this has just been sat frozen. Just going to take it off the plate. It's just sort of sat in the fridge. Get it out of this bag and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so we've got our bird here. This is a pre-seasoned bird, so it's got a little bit of flavouring on it already. And this is a sort of frozen boil in the bag one that you can pick up. So spatchcocking is where we take the back of the bird and we cut out this backbone. So we go along the natural meat seam here and here, and then the bird sort of sprays out so it can sit flat. The advantage of this is you can get seasoning more round, you can pull the skin back, which means you can get more seasoning underneath, and most importantly is it does speed up the cooking time. Normally I want to give this say an hour, but when we spatchcock it we can do it in about 45 minutes, maybe even less. It depends on the size of your bird. So to start with, I'm going to grab our poultry shears here. I always like to start on the right hand side, cut through, and we'll go as close to that backbone as possible. There'll be a natural bone here, which is the thigh bone. So click through that there, go up through the ribs, past the wing, and then this last piece is just the skin and the fat holding it together. So I like to just take a knife there. Now from here, you can split it. What I like to do is come up here and just do this. Same thing, but I just prefer this. I find it easier to manipulate the backbone this way. So again, we can just go up. I just sort of naturally follow it up. And again, you can do this with the chef's knife. It's just a little bit more difficult. So we cut through there, and again, this is all just fat and sinew, which you can see there. Cut it off. So this is our backbone. You can cut this up, you can fry it, you can use it in stocks. Perfectly worth keeping. So you're then left with this. So what you can do now for a traditional sort of spatchcock is you would get some paper towel, wipe away all sort of the innards here, and then you can either take again your chef's knife, your paring knife. I like to just make a slight incision there, and that is right deep in the middle of the breastbone. So if I hold it up there, right deep in the middle of the breastbone, and then when you lay it flat, just pop it, and there you go. So you're going to tuck back the wings like this, and that's it. So for a lot of people, that is your traditional spatchcock. That is it. So it lays on a flat tray like this. You can season the top, you can season the back. To some people, that is all they like to do. This is where I like to go a step further because I find it easier to cut and trim it. So on each side, there are 2 sets of bones I like to remove as extra. You can remove the breastbone. The chickens, I don't tend to bother. I find that you can get nice sort of natural slices without doing that. I like to keep it in for chickens, but the turkeys I will remove the breastbone. For me, 2 places I like to remove, you've got these ribs here. So these ribs sort of come up, they come up from here, over the bird, and then down onto here, and I like to cut them out. So we'll start with this left side here. Just take your sort of deboning knife, and as you can see, it's starting to just sort of break away naturally. So if I just come here now and get my knife under like this, and as you can see, it just sort of naturally pops up. And then you can come down, go all the way, and then using your deboning knife, you can just cut it off like that. And that just makes this a lot more cleaner. It's a lot more open into seasoning. The other thing you will need to watch when you are spatchcocking a chicken is sometimes there is a bone, and in fact it is still here on this side, that goes from here down, and that can be quite hard to get rid of. So I tend to just trim that with the shears as low as possible, just so it's not sharp or nasty. The second place I like to do is I like to come down here. So there's a lot of sort of cartilage and bone down here that can make getting to the thigh quite difficult. You've also got this chicken fat here that I like to remove just because it can stop the skin from getting crispy. It is naturally a lean bird. You do want to keep some fat, but this fat on the back here I tend to just cut off. Now as to the thigh bone, and this is sort of where, again, where I go the extra bit, there is a sort of bone section here. So you can see the sort of natural seam along where my fingers are there. I'll point to it with the knife. I tend to just come in here with the knife, and then what will happen is you start to feel it sort of naturally break away, and I'll just go in there very slowly. Again, I'm pretty skilled with this, so I know how to do it, but for your first time, if it takes you 20 minutes, it takes you 20 minutes. I honestly wouldn't worry about it. And again, we just want to find the other end of that, and as you can see, I poked through there, I found the other end, nice little trim off. And then this, you can either cut through it or you can try and bend it. Some of them will bend out and just sort of twist, and then they just pop out. In this case, I can feel it. It wants me to cut through it. So there you go. So I twisted it there. It's broke the knuckle. It's a nice little trim on the cartilage. We get around it, and there we go. And it's just this. There's no meat on there, right? It's just all a bit crap and bony, which is what you don't want. And then you've got this nice section here with your thigh bone hanging out. So what I then like to do is turn the bird around, do the exact same thing. So again, we've got our rib section here that I will just throw something down. We then throw our knife under the second section of the ribs, and you want to keep it up tight against the ribs so you minimize the potential for accidentally cutting meat away. So as you can see here, just going up against the bone. If I see, just here, it just pulls out. And again, you've just got this clean section here. It'd be easier to see when you've got the bird in front of you. And again, that other bone I was talking about, I can feel it. I recommend wearing gloves because you can feel it. So you've got this bone here. So if I put my knife under it, you can see that it's just sort of this big obstruction. So I like to just shave it down, and if possible, trim it or pull it out. I can feel on this one it's already broken. So I can feel that there you go, it wanted to release naturally. And again, so you've got the two bones here, the ribs, and then this thigh section down here. So again, I'll just take my bone there, put the deboning knife in. And again, you can do this with a chef's knife, just you'll need to be slower, it'll take more time. For the price of these, this is a knife from Lidl. I recommend just picking them up, nice and easy. And again, we just come down here, find that natural inseam where the knuckle is on the back of the thigh. I'll take my knife here, and I'll just cut up there. Again, I'll just naturally clear it. And sometimes they do twist out. Sometimes they like to be nice to us. Other times you might have to use a bit of power like I did there. Just cut through. And there you go. And that's nice and off. And again, there's little to no meat on there, but it is bone and it is going to make cutting it easier. So for me, this is where you can either do two things. You can leave it like this and just season it, or you can cut down here and do chicken halves. So you can do half the chicken and half the chicken. It is your choice there. The only other thing I would say, while I just scrape a little bit here, is obviously you can then get some paper towel. You can wash this off. You can season it. But in this state, you can also now pull all the skin off. So let me demonstrate that. So if I turn the bird over, have the legs pointing towards you, if I put the knife down, you've got your thigh here with the drumstick. Literally, right? You just use your fingers very gently, and you can just poke that through. And then from there, you've got this whole section in here now, that you can season. So you can season the back of the drum here, the back of the drum, and the top of the thigh, the back of the thigh, and then you just poke it back in the skin. And you can do the same with the other side. So again, and it's easier to feel in person, but you now see we've got our back of the drum here that we can season, our front of the drum that we can season, and the top of the thigh. And if you really want to, you can turn the bird over, and so I do tend to do this myself. You can then actually, where it's spatchcocked, go in the top here with your fingers. So just get your little thumbs and your fingers in there, and you can peel the entirety of the skin actually away from the breast. So as you can see there, I can get my fingers right under there. You'll feel a little bit of sort of thin skin that you can break. I recommend, if possible, not using a knife, because you can quite easily puncture the skin here if you're quite violent with it. Turkeys can put up with a little bit more abuse than chickens in this respect. But as you can see here, I'm sort of slowly working my fingers up. And you can sort of feel it, right? You can feel like a membrane that you're breaking through. So there, for example, I felt it there as well. And as you can see, that skin, now if I do that, it's starting to break away. And again, sometimes you'll get a little bit of fat, and that'll just stop you, but just get your finger down there. And you can rub butter down here, you can do seasoning, you can get away with not injecting it if you do this as well. Because some people inject chicken. I think the chicken you don't need to. I think the turkey probably best if you're not going to pre-brine. You come here, there you go, and as you can see, we've got this flap here now of skin that allows me to get all the seasoning under the bottom of the breast. You know, I can go down the top of the breast. I can also pull out some of this fat. So we've got a little bit of fat here that won't properly render. It will stop the skin from getting crispy. And that's it. So that's how I would spatchcock. I'd then take a paper towel, clean this all up, clean the rear out, sort of pop my thighs out and season them. Then I'd season the breast. Then I'd put it on a pan. When it's on a pan, I'd season the skin. I tend to let it sit for about 15, 20 minutes or so. That's when the salt will start doing osmosis with the meat, which will draw water and moisture in. This one, being a boil in the bag chicken, it's not the biggest. Some of the skin was already punctured, but you can kind of do anything with it, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. But yeah, so that's the basic guide to spatchcocking a chicken, and that's the way I do it. Again, if I wanted to now, I could, you know, come down here, do chicken halves. Perfect for quick oven cooks on a weeknight. You do chicken halves, you can cook half and marinate the other half. You can even do different flavors if you do, you know, you can do traditional roasty flavor with half there. Maybe do a curry roast chicken with the other half. But yeah, you've got so many different options now that it turns it from being an hour and a half roast. And again, once you've got experience and you start understanding what's what, you can kind of do this process in about 10 minutes or so. But yeah, any questions, hit me down in the comments. But that is how here we spatchcock our chickens.